Greg. Hey there, Mike. You know just what we like. Hey there, Greg. Hey there, Mike. You know.
All right, I'm going to clap in. And 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Read all about it.
Oh,
Read all about it. Hear ye, hear ye. Extra, extra. 5 cents. A nickel. Remember that? How much?
A nickel. What's a nickel?
I can remember when the newspaper was 25 cents. The New York Post was 25 cents.
Yeah.
Now it's like $5.
What was the Staten Island ferry?
Free.
It was free, goddammit. It was free.
It was free
What is it
going.
now?
I think it was free
I don't even
going
know.
to Staten Island, and you had to pay to get to Manhattan just to try
Everything
to get
in New
people.
York should be that way. All bridge and tunnel should be charged. Those dirt bags.
Well, they've paid off. I mean, initially, the bridges and tunnels in New York were the bridges were all created by Robert Moses, and they put out a bond to collect tolls to pay for the cost of the bridge. But they paid that off back in the 1950s, and now they're just collecting tolls for no reason.
Greg, it was the hottest day on record for the third time this week.
Jesus, who cares?
Let me do a deep tease. You ready?
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about Obama and someone I think tried to get violent with him. So it's a win. Both sides win on that story. The White House, cocaine, freckles are fashionable. A dead mom. I don't know why I put that in here. Gladiators, Love and Death, Kon-Tiki. I watched that documentary last night. And then CTE is not just for men anymore.
What's CTE?
You have it. That's why you don't remember it. It's brain trauma from the heavy hits.
Right. Well, I like it,
man.
Mike. This is a new like production heavy version of Sunday Papers. We're gonna really,
Is that
go
what
to
it
another
is?
level.
All right. You out of nowhere during the week created a pop-up comedy show.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, our dear friend Tom O'Neill, who is the author of Chaos, the history of the CIA in America in the 1960s, he brought, this is what Tom does. Me and Aaron had gone out to dinner on Friday night.
I love this story.
No, Saturday night. It was Saturday night. We go out for some Thai food. We come home at about 10 o'clock. I've got a show at 11:15. So we're just going to stop at home. Maybe I'll throw a move on her. She'll shut me down and we'll have a snack. And so we come home and the gate to our house has a whole chicken in a bag that's been delivered with a chocolate chip cookie on top of it.
Keep in mind, right outside your gate, pit bulls have been known to attack people.
Yes.
Projects are down the street. It's not, mail would be stolen in a second.
Yes, it's not safe. I live in an unsafe neighborhood. And so an unsafe neighborhood where the average house goes for $2.5 to $5 million.
Of
That's
course,
Venice
Los
for you.
Angeles.
And so we get to the gate. I pick up the chicken. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this was meant for, but it's mine now. And we walk inside, and within 2 minutes, there's a knock on our door, and I open it up, and it's Tom O'Neill with 10 people in their 20s that are drunk that he met in a bar, and the first thing he goes is, "Where's my chicken?"
He's oddly zero plans and then a well-executed dinner plan.
So now they're standing in my living room, and each of these 10 people has grabbed a piece of chicken, and they're eating it with their hands because they're all stoned. And one of them is actually Tom's nephew, Matthew, who I love. You know him. He's a great guy.
Yep.
So one of the guys
he's
they're
great.
with is this redheaded kid in his 20s. He's from England, and he has visited 77 countries in his life. So he's an adventurer, and he tells us he's a comedian, but he's never done stand-up in the United States. And so I said, well, we got to change that. We got to get you on stage. And he's like, well, can I come with you to the Comedy Store tonight? I'm like, no, absolutely not. You're not coming to the best comedy club in the country on a Friday night or Saturday night
right.
to do a show. And so Matthew goes, well, I belong to the yacht club. And when I say yacht club, calling that place a yacht club is like calling Penmar a country club.
Right.
It's like a 1970s.
The People's Yacht Club. It's $70 a month, and you have to volunteer to 10 bar.
And the drinks are only like $5, and they give you a heavy pour.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of alcoholics.
It's fantastic and diverse.
It's very diverse, yeah. And all different ages.
And eclectic is also a better word, but all types and all of them hammered.
All hammered. There's a pool table. There's a karaoke machine. There's a deck. It's really fun. Just
FYI, it seems that no one there owns a boat. I'm not joking.
They all sank their boats.
It's a room that is very mid-century. It's a couple of rooms that you go upstairs and it's in the marina, and it was for people to go, and you could cook your own meal in there and shower if you had like a small boat, but you couldn't afford to be in any other, there's a couple of real yacht clubs and boat clubs in the marina. I think there's 3 of them.
Well,
which are expensive, and the usual drill with boating people.
The undiscerning ear would listen to this podcast and hear us talking about golf and yacht clubs and think that we actually were living a pretty bougie life. If you could see these golf clubs and yacht clubs, you'd see.
You know what? Both
we're living
of them
a lie.
If you want to get a very accurate perception of what we're talking about, no joke. Picture your Elks Lodge.
Yes.
Both are at exactly the Elks Lodge level.
So Matthew goes, the pool room might be good for a comedy show. I go, book it. I go, let them know we're coming down. That night, this is at like 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, so we're booking a show for Sunday night. I text out to some comedians. Jacob Feldman says he'll come out.
Love him.
Griffin James decides he'll come out. And then the bartender from Hanano, who we'd been hanging out with that afternoon, we were shooting pool at Hanano that day. And I texted him because he told me he was a comic. I said, come on down. And then you and Gibbons both signed up. And so then we got the English kids. So we got 7 people on the show. We send out a group text and we fill the place. There's like 30 or 40 people sitting on folding chairs in the pool room. They have a nice sound system, couple speakers.
It was great.
And your girlfriend was there. Your daughters were there.
Yep.
It was a riot. We had so much fun.
It was really, really fun, and the group was crazy. We also saw each other running charades at my sister's house. And getting back to Tom for a second, Tom was there. So that was the next night, was running charades, right?
Yeah.
And so running charades is basically one person sits out in the middle and you like have 4 or 5 teams that are all in separate rooms. This one was the person sitting in the backyard. People were in the backyard, the garage, the living room, anyway. And you come out, like 4 people get the clue. They run back. Now it's a relay race. Now the next person who guesses it runs out and gets the next clue. This was the best part. Tom O'Neill's giving clues. They're normally disasters. If he had his way, he would have 10 fucking Patti Smith songs. But he was actually good about it this time. And then one of them, he put his book, Chaos, right?
Yeah.
So the best was, so we finished and we won. And then we roamed around and watched the other teams struggling. And Tom was watching also. And this team goes, book, one word. And they're like, Tom's book. And then no one could get the title.
That was my group. And that included your girlfriend.
Yes.
And your sister. Neither one of them knew the name of his book.
What about you?
No, I got it.
Oh.
Yeah, that was fun. And then what was George's clue? Didn't George have a great clue?
All right, so George, my brother-in-law, who's amazing, George is on my team. I felt I was too harsh because I was so hyper and there were drugs involved. But anyway, George runs in, right? Keep in mind, it's tense. This is a race. As soon as you guess it, you fly out, and you have to have rules of like whoever touches the clue giver's arm first, because 2 or 3 people are racing to hear the next clue. So George runs in and he goes, movie. Mikey was giving a list and it was all albums. So he runs in album and he goes 2 words and he goes first word and then he just starts walking like calmly. And he's walking. So we're like fucking Walking Dead soundtrack, walking in LA, walking, what the fuck would it be? And he's like, no, not walking. And then he's like trying to get walking. We're like, but you are walking. He's like, yes. I can't even belabor it anymore because even if I told you for a 1/80th of the time he took, you would shut off the podcast and kill yourself. Literally, the clue he was giving was Hotel California, and the walking was someone walking into a lobby. And I immediately kicked him off the team. I traded him for his daughter, Kate.
Walking into a hotel lobby, not carrying a bag,
No.
not
And
pulling
someone goes,
a roller
you
bag.
could have at least dragged a wheeling suitcase.
Right.
Oh, and then by the way, we're like walking, and then he goes, no. So he starts again, and this time he walked casually, and then he stopped and he looked around. So we're like, you're in a cave. You're in a cave. I wanted to kill him.
Yeah. That was fun. That was fun. And then we want to give a shout out to Clay Voorhees. I hope I'm saying it right. Voorhees did an oil painting of a microphone on air with Sunday Papers written on it. And I even emailed him back and I was like, how did you make that? I thought maybe he used some like animation software.
Or a filter, yeah.
He oil painted it. It's fucking cool as hell. I think we almost should make like a T-shirt out of that. It's very cool.
At least playing cards. Doesn't it look like a cool playing card?
Yeah, it does. It does. And then Lawrence Tarpey, who not only writes songs for us, he does art, he does it all. He's a friend of the show. He did a very fucking cool song. What song did you say it sounded like?
And Chris Denman helped us with Romeo Void. I think I like it better if we slept together or whatever that one is. A little of that. I don't want to take too much away from Lawrence. It was a really cool song.
By the way, can I just tell you who...
In the style of.
Maybe the coolest band of all time is? The fucking B-52s. If you have ever seen them do Rock Lobster live on stage...
They were avant-garde.
They were avant-garde. They didn't give a fuck. They did what they wanted to do in the most campy, silly, but committed way, sweating their asses off. And kind of amazing vocals and a great backup band. But, I mean, if I could pick any concert to go to in history, they would definitely be in top 10. Seeing them in the 90s or the 80s, I would top 10.
I think I did see them. Jeff brought me to not the Roxy. I'm trying to think in New York it might have been the Roxy.
Really?
And the guitar, I think people underestimate, their guitar had a very vicious sound.
Yeah.
And
also, their bass.
And you talk about not giving a shit. There are definitely chunks where it's like, like she's completely doing a Yoko Ono.
Yes, totally.
When it was already famously the least attractive thing one could listen to. Like that was well established.
But she was on pitch when she does it.
Yeah, she did it well.
Yes. Some corrections. Aaron Claremont said, what's going on with the sound on your show? Have to boost it to hear your voices, and then bam, you section break music comes out like a blast that wakes me up. Not that I didn't enjoy your dial. Yeah. Chris, can you make a note about that? Like when they go to the music for each section, it gets incredibly loud.
It's kind of like when you're listening to local TV, when you're listening to TV back in the day, and then a local ad would come on, it would be so fucking loud.
During the July 2nd episode, Mike stated that figure skaters perform on frozen ice. Mike, it's just ice or frozen water.
Right.
Tom,
what I was saying, I was comparing him to synchronized swimming. I forget what I was doing, but I should have said frozen water, yes.
Jonas D said Shannon and the Clams, who I recommended last week that people listen to. Big fan of the show. This is definitely my most music nerdy and woke complaint ever. You said she was like Lizzo. I've also been a recent fan of the band. My complaint is, aside from the size of both these women, what do they have in common musically? Nothing. You got me.
Are you serious?
They're both overweight women, and I don't know why, but I just said that they're similar.
Lizzo and the clam bake?
I But I will highly recommend Shannon and the Clams. It's feel good. You'll dance. You'll have a good time. Your life will get better. Speaking of your life getting...
Hold on. She might have a new album, and I'm risking adding another large woman into the mix, but that's not why I am. But I heard her on the radio this week, and I remember during the pandemic, I loved the album she came out with. But Yola, have you listened to... I sent Yola to you, Y-O-L-A.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yes.
And not like Lizzo. Much more just melodic, no edgy lyrics or anything like that.
Speaking of great performances, if you live in the Pottstown, Pennsylvania area, on July 21st, I'll be at Soul Joel's, apparently a cool little club. And then I will be in Point Pleasant, New Jersey at Uncle Vinny's on July 22nd and 23rd. Tickets are going fast for those shows. Get them soon at fitzdog.com. Also, want to tell you about a fine company that's helped us out in our lives personally. I love when we have an ad that we interact with a lot and we use. So Game Time is an app that you get that helps you get last-minute best price tickets for everything from theater, music, sports, whatever you're into, you can get tickets, and it's at the last minute. You don't have to stress out about your tickets anymore. You just get on there, track the prices, and they tend to come down. And at the last minute, they have these last minute ticket deals, flash deals. It's super easy to use. It's like a couple taps on your phone, and you don't have to print anything. You don't have to transfer anything. It's in your phone. You can look around at the arena from your seats. They've got it's really great. Are you looking at anything lately?
Tonight, Dodgers, $26. We'll say by the end of the show, it'll probably be down even further. And listen, I know it's not last minute, so you may want to wait, but Wednesday, Los Angeles Sparks, it's very far away, but right now it's $4 a ticket. And maybe it's the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
How are they affording these $1,200 salaries? Do you know the highest paid player in the WNBA is it's somebody's daughter. I think Dennis Rodman's daughter. And she's got a 4-year, $1 million contract.
Really?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so do it. Get involved. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PAPERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PAPERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Rodman's daughter plays pro soccer. And she has, I think, a $1 million 4-year deal.
Ah, all right. She could have been. She probably could play WNBA too. Oh.
Denman is writing that the highest paid WNBA player is Jackie Young, and she makes $250,000 a year.
That's a lot of seats. Can I just say that? Is that safe just to say it that way?
Yeah.
So many seats.
And you know what's fucked up about it is she's making $250,000, but meanwhile, her husband and kids are at home, and they have to send out for takeout every night that she's on the road. That adds up.
Oh, jeez. Are we doing front page?
Let's do it.
There's your crinkle right there.
Extra! Extra! Read all about it! Extra!
There.
Let's read our title since we're starting to put some effort into our titles. Obama. Prosecutors say a man arrested near President Obama's home last week with weapons in his van visited the D.C. neighborhood after former President Trump shared what he claimed was Obama's address on Truth Social. How is that not a crime? Isn't that a crime?
He's probably like, everyone knows where I live. You know, that's where the documents are. Why can't they know where Obama lives?
Taylor Taranto, 37, wrote on Telegram, "We got these losers surrounded. See you in hell." He then live streamed from his van on his YouTube channel. So this guy, Taranto, of no fixed address, allegedly talked about finding an entrance to Obama's home using the sewer system. He had apparently he had explosive devices, and FBI bomb squad and K-9 officers were deployed. He had 2 firearms in his van and 18 guns registered to him.
That's enough.
He had hundreds of 9mm ammunition, a steering wheel lock, and a machete, just in case things got really bad.
I like he has the steering wheel lock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they followed him. Somehow he fled and got away, and then they apprehended him later.
Right, because he couldn't make any turns because he lost the key to the steering wheel lock. Just going straight.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, if you've already got him in the sewer system, just leave him down there and give Secret Service Mexican food, and let's all take a shit on this guy.
Oh, man. This is why, listen, this is a good argument. This is why you have 20 guns, because you're a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure a free state. You have to protect us from the government like an ex-president having dinner with his family. That's why you need the firearms. 20 of them.
Right. Fucking Trump. It's the first correct information to come out of Trump's mouth in months, by the way.
Was it even? I don't know. If you want to catch Obama, go to a talk show. That guy can't stop fucking giving interviews.
Well, because they're probably giving him $500,000 every time he shows up at some Marriott conference room and talks to a bunch of billionaires. It's good money.
He also likes cred. You know, he has an ego about his lists every year.
Yeah.
So he has this ego that he likes, massaged, and so he does these. Like, I think it includes not small podcasts, but like hip. Well, remember, he did Marin's, right?
Yes,
First,
he did Marin's. And I
first
think he's done
president to do
Conan.
Huh?
He's done Conan.
Yep. The one on Showtime he did. I've seen him do a bunch.
Yeah. Well, speaking of presidents, President Joe Biden has been briefed on the investigation into the discovery of cocaine on the lobby floor of the White House West Wing and thinks it's incredibly important for the Secret Service to determine how it got there. Secret Service agents found the powder during a routine White House sweep on Sunday in a small, clear plastic bag on the ground in a heavily trafficked area.
Wow.
I like it. I like it. I think Obama, he's fading. I think the only way we're going to get this guy reelected is a little higher energy, maybe talking a little more intensely. He'll start fucking Kate Moss. Get him back in the headlines.
Please get the coke to Biden. Please get the coke to Biden. What are they saying? It seems like there would be 40 cameras that would have footage of this. Right.
I mean, I picked this story up a couple days ago. There may be an update. Maybe Denman wants to check on that, but this is where it stood a couple days ago.
Were people screaming that it was Hunter? Obviously.
Oh no! Fox News jumped all over that. Yeah.
Of course they did.
Yeah, Hunter Biden is on the tour. He's in the area where they lead tours in the White House doing blow.
And meanwhile, his parents were in Camp David, or his dad was in Camp David.
Yeah. I mean, that easily could have been somebody dropping it there on purpose to stir some shit up.
I guess, yeah.
Speaking of which, you want to read this next story, Mike?
Oh, shit hitting the fan. On a recent June morning in Brooklyn, Chloe nearly drifted into sleep on a bed in a cozy room as a makeup artist used a needle dipped in semi-permanent liquid pigment to carefully prick about 20 microscopic dots across her cheeks. Before her appointment, Chloe had drawn specs on herself with an eyebrow pencil to wear the latest beauty trend that thousands of people across the country are trying out: freckle tattoos. Available in the shape of hearts, stars, even astrological signs, and lucky stars. The melanin-filled skin marks, once a cause for schoolyard torment, have become the latest TikTok obsession. This procedure for these artificial sun kisses takes around an hour and is less painful and permanent than a traditional tattoo. It lasts about 8 months to 2 years, depending on the skin type, sun exposure, and other factors. We just wanted to get rid of freckles. Don't you remember that?
Oh, no. I had freckles as a kid, and it was torture. First of all, I had about 4, and they were each about an inch wide. They were big, shitty freckles, and I hated them. I had acne and freckles and red hair, and I was pasty white, and I was skinny as a rail, and I was so, I looked horrible.
You must have looked like a mannequin, like a little, ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, I looked like Chucky. I looked like Chucky, the killer doll.
That works.
You can also get, how about this? How about I get some acne tattoos and a wine stain? Maybe sketch a thick load on my chin.
Load?
Guys will love that.
How about a big L on my forehead? And on my back in big letters, kick me. And just throw in the red hair also.
Yeah.
This is, we need a revenge of the jocks. This has gone too far, our society.
Right. I know. It's like I went from being this nerdy, skinny kid to being kind of a cool guy in college, and now I'm not cool anymore. But I had my moment, and at that moment, everything went nerdy. It could have been my big payday.
Always going against the grain.
Yep.
How do freckles work? They come
kisses
out
from
in
the
summer, and then they go dormant?
Yeah, they're kisses from the sun, and Jesus only comes out in the summer.
Hey, by the way, when I read that weather that we're shattering records, I'm like, why is it always during summer? Do we just ignore the southern hemisphere's summer? Like you barbarians don't count?
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and of course, the northern hemisphere, because it's tilted towards the sun, that's when the earth gets its hottest. On the top 45%. Or the top 90%.
Okay.
The 45th, I looked that up too. The 45th latitude is right through Maine. Okay,
right.
Next story.
Yeah, why don't you read this next one?
Why she wouldn't even harm a fly. That's a little Hitchcock line for everybody. California man hid mother's death for 3 decades to collect her benefits. Donald Felix.
I love it.
Donald Felix Zampak, 65, received more than $830,000 in payments from the government intended for his late mother. He also took possession of her home while it was still in her name. He should have been like, what? I was in denial. Look at all the Mother's Day cards I bought even through last year. Look at the flowers.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was, I guess about I was 16 years old, and I was driving in Tarrytown, and my parents were out of town, and I had their car. And it was one of those big old V8 Chevy Caprice Classics, the 4-door. It's about 19 feet long.
Uh-huh.
And I was driving through town. I'm sure I was drinking, and the cops pulled me over, and I didn't have my license on me, and so they took me in to the police station because I was so young. They thought I took the car, so they called my house. My brother answered the phone, and said, "Is Mr. Fitzsimmons or Mrs. Fitzsimmons there?" And my brother, when they said it was the police, said, "Yeah, this is Mr. Fitzsimmons." And they said, "We have your son here. We picked him up for driving without a license. You need to come down and release him." So my brother and I'm not making this up, and I have a photo in my book because I tell this story. They came down to the police station. My brother dressed as my father. He wore a blazer and this T-shirt. My father always had this T-shirt that says, "I gave to Eddie Aid," because it was like this party they threw for their friend Eddie. And he had on loafers, and he had a cigarette dangling out of his mouth. My sister put on my mother's blouse, giant sunglasses, big hoop earrings, and they walked into the police station and said, "Is our son Greg here?" And they fucking released me to my brother and sister. And then there's a picture of us all drinking beer in the driveway with them dressed up as them.
It's so funny. He goes to a detail that the police would have no idea about, like that T-shirt.
Oh, no, it was just to crack me up. It was just to make me laugh.
How did they? I mean,
you know what it was?
Deirdre's how old at that point?
They saw them and they were like, "Get these fucking clowns out of here. Just go. Just go."
Oh, to be white and fuck around with the police.
Right?
Oh, my God.
If
All
I
right.
could list all the time, I had the cops pull me over once, and I was drunk, and the cop said, "Just drive straight home." I'm not making that up. Drive straight home.
Put that wheel lock on your car so you can't turn and just drive straight home.
Right.
So you came up with that story because it was pretending to be a mom?
Yes. I mean,
trying
what do you want? One-liners on every story? I'm going to go off script
I'm trying to find the link, though, between this guy. I read a little more about this story. So what they've done is, which is so smart, they finally decided to look at all the old people who are getting benefits and then cross, what is it? What's the word? Cross-analyze it or whatever you want to, with the list of people who have claimed 0 Medicaid benefits. Because they're dead.
Yeah, right.
And then they start knocking on doors and fake old ladies answer.
Although I'll tell you what, if you were to investigate my Aunt Jo, who died at 93 this year, she did not go to the doctor for the last 40 years. Never went to the fucking doctor.
Wow.
Yep.
She was probably pretending to be her mom. What a racket, man. That's fantastic.
I love
So
it.
he's giving all the money back, apparently, because he's selling the house. And he also, he by the way, he more than did this. He also borrowed money against some lenders. Might have been a credit card. I'm trying to remember what.
You look at the effort some people put into not working, and you go, why not just work?
It was very similar to the effort I would put in to cheating in school.
Yeah.
Like the cheat sheet, which I basically needed a magnifying glass to read how much information I had on it and how long I would spend to write that small on a piece of paper, was insanity.
Yeah, right.
I should have just read the chapter in the book.
Yeah. So let's get to a little good news for Gubbins. We want to crinkle it up.
Here we go. Yeah.
So we're just teasing, basically, that I'll be gone for 2 weeks in August, and then we are going to have, what do they call it on the radio when somebody takes over a show? They
Guest
hijack.
host?
Yeah, but there's a funny word for it. They call it like hijacking the show or something. So we're going to have the Den show. It's going to be Dennis Gubbins and Chris Denman. We've decided, people weighed in and almost categorically said they will not listen if this happens. So we're going to go ahead and do it.
2 bears, 1 den. 2 bears, 2 dens.
Yeah,
They are like 2 bears.
they are. They're both bears.
Big, hairy, gay-looking guys.
Maybe we should fly Denman into Los Angeles to do this in person.
That will be. And then who's gonna produce from the mid coast?
Key.
but it'll be on the left coast.
Denman is saying bring Dennis to St. Louis. Can he stay at your house, Chris, if he comes out to St. Louis? He said hard no.
No. All right.
All right. Let's get to some entertainment.
By the way, he's writing in the document, and I thought he was just writing hard. Like that was his response to spending time with Dennis in his house. I'm hard. What are we doing now? Entertainment?
Entertainment.
Okay, what are we doing?
What are you watching?
Oh man, I watched I didn't write it down, but I am watching Love and Death. We talked about. I think she's attractive in that.
Yes, we talked about that. We love her.
I did watch that Gladiator documentary.
Oh, so did I.
I thought it was a kind of a waste of time.
I thought it was one of the best 7 hours I've spent in the last couple of years. Well, first of all, you have to understand something. If you're young and you listen to this show, go listen to another show.
Oh, Jesus, Greg, the coveted demo.
If you're older, you remember I was obsessed with the Gladiators. I watched every episode, and I just loved that it was this was before MMA. I just thought it was the most raw, physical competition. And the women
Ever hear of boxing?
Boxing, they didn't use their feet. They didn't use cudgels. And
you were in love with Nitro.
But it's all about all the steroids they took and how they would go on tour, and they would do like a 40-city tour in a year. And they just would, it was just like every fucking night. They finished, they got on a bus, they drove 6 hours, they unloaded, they somehow erected like the walls and the towers and the mats and everything, and fought it out with like, if you're in Houston, you're competing against a dozen of the toughest, biggest people in that city that want to kick your ass. So night after night, you are fighting the toughest people from that city. It's crazy.
But it's not true. They even said they were picking similar sized people to the Gladiators, and there was like the average viewer kind of couldn't relate. So then they started picking, tougher but smaller people.
Yes.
Because then it was David versus Goliath.
But those smaller people have been resting. They didn't just fight in Detroit the night before and Cincinnati the night before that.
They also weren't shooting up roids in their hotel room all
true.
night.
Good point. I've been watching True Detective. It's the third. I think the third season came out a while ago, but we're just getting around to it. And what a snore fest! Jesus Christ!
Which one is this?
It's the black-white comedy duo. Your classic black and white comedy. I'm sorry, police team. Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff.
Oh, wow.
Who are phenomenal actors.
I missed that one.
But
I think the last one I saw was the second season Vince Vaughn.
I
think so. I saw that.
First one was McConaughey and
yes.
And what's his name?
Yeah, then season 2 was based on kind of a true story about this town outside of or within Los Angeles County, I think. Yeah.
It was awful. That second season was awful. This third one is a little bit better, but it's just there's no action. There's there's sporadic action scenes, but for the most part, it's just super slow.
So last night, and I say this to myself, I'm like, especially after watching Gladiators, which I disagreed with you, I was like, there's so many quality, kind of legendary things out there that I haven't seen. Come on, start doing it. So I want to go on a Werner Herzog kick, and people had always told me that he made this insane movie called Fitzcarraldo, and it was so insane that there's a documentary about it called Burden of Dreams, which feels like a Werner Herzog documentary because he's constantly being interviewed with his famous German, voice and the way he speaks in such philosophical ways. So, have you seen Burden of Dreams?
No.
He's in the Amazonian rainforest, and the headline is, without giving anything away, it's a movie about a guy. I don't even want to get into details, but he has to bring a giant boat. I mean giant. I think this thing's 100 feet. It's like a ferry. It's like the Staten Island ferry, smaller than that, but that's the type of boat with multiple levels, kind of like the one we rented at graduation in Boston. He has to bring it over a hill to get from one river to the next, and he hires the true local people. It's crazy.
Wait, where do they shoot this again?
In the Amazon.
And
people died. People
Wait,
died.
how
They
many
kinda
people
gloss
do you
over
need to
that.
lift a fucking ferry over a mountain? Like
Oh,
hundreds?
they got a tree. They put a hole in the tree to put another tree through the tree, which basically made it something you could wind up with cables. But they cheated, and they also bought a used bulldozer, and none of it was. And then it would be like, so then, now the river's too low, so the boat would get grounded. They're like, well, we got to wait for the rainy season. And he had already made one trip back to promise all the investors that this movie would get made. It's if you want to see someone, here's a line. I put a little description in the script here. He goes, with a resolve bordering on insanity, Herzog struggles to realize his vision, vowing to see the film completed, even if it leads to his undoing.
How would you compare this to Heart of Darkness, the making of Apocalypse Now?
I mean, they so had this in mind. Although this was 82. When was Apocalypse Now shot?
I don't know.
But this was an earlier movie, but they were shooting it while they made. Chris, can you look up when Fitzcarraldo was shot?
1982.
No, that's the documentary when it came out.
Oh,
No, wait. No, you're right. It says that's when he started Fitzcarraldo. It looks like it's the 60s, but it's with the local tribes. Also, they have to mediate. The tribes are at war. It's in Peru. It's nuts.
I'm guessing Apocalypse Now is the mid-70s.
Yeah, I was thinking 76 or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll look it up. Anyway,
right, well,
yes, Heart of Darkness is a great comparison.
All right, let's get down to released in 79. Okay, 1979. Let's get down to Make America Florida.
Here it comes. Oh, also, I watched a documentary, Kon-Tiki. Remember seeing that in school?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the sharks. That's what I remember vividly. That's how I know I'm an ADD kid. When I was watching, I'm like, I remember how this affected me. It's the only part of the movie I remembered. And it's because there were sharks. I needed something stimulating. Otherwise, I was bored shitless. Florida man beats wife's lover with bat after finding them together in bed. 33-year-old John Dimming allegedly stormed into a Lake Worth Beach Airbnb with a black Rawlings aluminum bat. Just an FYI, because this is Florida, I assumed he beat him with a living bat. Anyway, he found his wife, Christy Barbado, in bed with one of her coworkers. Dimmig entered the room, closed the door behind him, and charged at his wife's lover. He knocked him with a blow and pinned him to the floor. Dimmig whacked him with the metal bat at least thrice. I think thrice is quite the fancy word for a Florida story, but that's the word that was in there. As Dimmig walked out the door, he allegedly shouted, "Don't come near my fucking wife again." It sounds very like, what's his name at the Oscars?
Well,
right?
yeah, like Will Smith, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, this seems fair. I mean, the guy deserved it. You fuck a guy's wife, and getting beat with a baseball bat, that's nothing. This guy... He's not a Florida native. He's a transplant, because a real Florida man, he would have used a jackhammer. He would have stolen the guy's wallet, gone on a strip club tear. The wife would be locked in a closet. The dog would be limping. A lot of
There'd be-
shit would have happened.
There'd be baby gators hanging from nipples.
Yes, this was mild. The fact that he said don't do it again. A real Florida man, you wouldn't have the capacity to do it again.
Also, she's going to remain his wife. That's what's implicit in that statement.
Yes,
And it
right.
reminds me, until like 1979 or maybe even later, Texas had the Paramore law, which is, and I'm quoting, homicide is justifiable when committed by the husband upon one taken in the act of adultery with the wife, provided that the killing takes place before the parties to the act have separated. It sounds like they still have to be humping. It also sounds like she's going to get shot also. But it was always that mentality, like if I'm in Texas and I run in with a gun, and if I'm in Florida in this story and I run in with an aluminum bat, I think I'm just threatening the guy and telling him to leave because I have a big conversation coming up with my wife, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
the more evolved, I think?
yeah. That is amazing.
It's not really his fault.
So they have to be in coitus interruptus. They have to be in coitus while you kill him.
The Paramore law, this was the thing. You couldn't have dinner. She starts crying and she says she slept with Steve down the road, and then you run and kill Steve.
Yeah.
That's what it couldn't be.
Right. She's still got to be wet. That's the rule. The cops show up with napkins. They test her. If she's wet, it's a clear murder. It's clear and free.
Yeah, because you're standing your ground and this guy's dick is in your ground because your wife is your property.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get down to he was murdering her pussy.
That's what Chris just wrote. I
let's
can't
go-
wait for the Den show. Let's make Florida Australia,
Let's do it.
or make Florida Australia. I've never questioned that. Is that right?
I think it actually should be Make Australia Florida.
Okay, I'm going to do it again. Make Australia Florida. Here we go. A former Australia rules football player has been diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy in a landmark finding for female professional athletes. The Concussion Legacy Foundation said Heather Anderson, who played for the Australian Football League's women's competition, is the first female athlete, I think, in the world diagnosed with CTE, the degenerative brain disease linked to concussions. CTE, which can only be diagnosed posthumously, can cause memory loss, depression, and violent mood swings. Wait a minute, how could they tell she had it? That describes all women.
Come on.
By the way, I did see a funny meme that went around, and it was a chart with a graph, and this was a commentary on trans women athletes, and it was a graph of testicular injuries to female athletes, and it's all 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 until like last year, and a huge spike in the chart.
Memory loss and depression from playing women's rugby. I'm pretty sure it's not just female rugby, because I can tell you firsthand, it also happens when you play golf with Dennis Gibbons.
Shebang!
Try to have
Wait.
memory loss. You try to forget what just happened on the course. Jesus Christ, today. Here's the thing about Gibbons. We're playing golf with him today. He doesn't look at the groups ahead to say they're playing slow. He literally turns around and he looks at the holes behind him to see if people are playing slow. And then he gets irate if they're playing. It's like, Dennis, just be on your own fucking hole. What do you care?
He's the golf police. I like it.
Hate it.
When he's out there, the course runs faster sometimes. That's just a fact.
All right, let's get to sports.
Sports, here we go. More female sports stories.
Bloody hell. For the first time in 146 years, Wimbledon has changed its women's dress code. But this being Wimbledon, the change is glacial rather than radical. Players are now allowed to wear dark-colored undershorts. The move has been made to alleviate the worries of competitors who are on their period. In a statement, the All England club said that the new rule will, quote, help players focus purely on their performance by relieving a potential source of anxiety. It has been welcomed by many of the players. As U.S. pro Coco Gauff told Sky News, I think it's going to relieve a lot of stress for me and other girls in the locker room. Well, this will be welcome news for the Chinese players. Well, once they start getting their periods. I think then they will really welcome this.
I think, yeah, a lot of athletes, depending on how intense the training is, might not be getting them as regularly.
But wait, will they also change the rules for serving? Because I've dated a lot of women on their period, and it is never their fault.
Look at that sophisticated wordplay.
Yeah, took me a while on that one. It was like a puzzle.
I'm surprised you didn't work deuce with douche in there somehow.
There we go.
You know what I thought about recently, having nothing to do, taking a right turn on this story? But you said the pace of change of Wimbledon is glacial rather than radical. I think soon glacial is going to mean fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The way they're moving, the way they're disappearing.
Yeah.
This change happened at a glacial pace. Oh my God, overnight? Yes, overnight. It happened overnight.
You want to do this one?
Hit me, baby, one more time. Britney's, are we doing the story?
Well, why don't you do the punchline first, then read the story?
Wait, that's the title. Denman put this in.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Den podcast. Britney Spears, no charges will be filed, according to Chris Denman, following a brief investigation of the altercation involving pop star Britney Spears, San Antonio Spurs 7-4 rookie Victor Wembanyama, and a member of the player's security team. Las Vegas. Okay, I can't even read this.
This is the worst fucking written paragraph I've ever seen in my life.
No, he copied and pasted it in, but you gotta fudge these things and fuss with them. Anyway, apparently for a few days, people thought Britney Spears ran up to this rookie star of the San Antonio Spurs, and then his bodyguard slapped her in the face. Her glasses flew off, and she flew to the ground. But now they're saying they're determining that she inadvertently hit herself in the face.
Huh.
So hit me, baby, one more time would be the punchline.
Yes. But Denman put it as the title of the article.
I would say it's the least damage she's done to her face to herself in about a decade.
Right. I don't know. Maybe the security guard got a message from all of us from the 80s and finally acted on it.
Wait, what do you mean?
We all wanted her hit in the face.
Oh, yeah.
90s. Denman saying 90s. He's trying to save himself after that fucking
I didn't see the
horrible
footage.
story he added in.
I didn't see the footage, but I saw the headline. All right.
What is this? Flag on? Is this new? This new story? No.
I've never seen it.
Take it out. Take it out. Why is he adding fucking stories to the goddamn script? We said we don't want it.
No, that was Tom Brady losing his shirt
It's gone.
in FTX crypto.
Let's go international.
Here you go. There.
A twin due to be medically terminated, that's a nice way of saying it, to save his brother's life made a surprise arrival in the toilet bowl.
What?
The mom, Corrine Rose, 30, suddenly went into labor and welcomed twin boys while on the loo. At 32, this is in England, obviously, at 32 weeks along. The amniotic sac for one of the twins, Neo, burst too soon, and doctors broke the news that he wouldn't make it. To give his twin Grayson a fighting chance, Corinne made the tough decision to undergo a medical termination for one of the boys. But the day before the procedure, Corinne found herself delivering both babies alone in the bathroom, scooping them out of the toilet. They went to the neonatal ward, and Grayson, who weighed 4 pounds, was discharged after 3 weeks. Neo, who weighed 2 pounds 14 ounces, has defied all the odds despite doctors' fears he wouldn't pull through. He's finally joined his brother at home. So,
After being flushed.
Yeah, that was definitely...
Discharged.
She went through a whole roll of toilet paper on that one, I'm sure.
Well, took pretty literally dropping the kids at the pool.
Yeah. Watch out for these kids in swim class. There's no stopping them.
What? That's crazy story.
Yeah.
Look at her shitting out kids. And then Neo, the whole ward's named after him. The Neo, what was the
neonatal ward. Right.
Not you, Grayson.
Imagine that you go to visit her in the hospital and you're like, oh, can I hold him? And you hold him and you're like, no, I'm good. Here, you can take him back.
Grayson was the shit that took a little while in terms of, I think, Neo was like, the warning shots that come out first. And then you got Grayson coming down the tube.
Yeah. Huh. All right.
Wow.
This story is called Unfair. Now, let's skip this one. It's kind of lame. Let's get to science.
Science.
Technology.
Okay.
Prince of Wales.
Oh.
Gray whales have learned to approach whale watching boats to have parasites removed by human beings. That has been claimed. Video footage documenting the behavior in Baja, California shows a gray whale having whale lice picked off his head by the captain of a small boat. I have done it repeatedly with the same whales and others. It's very exciting for me.
Huh.
Captain Ahab would be rolling around in his grave right now.
What? So, is the first time I'm seeing this story, even though you put it in earlier. But, so the gray whales are on a migration. This thing remembers where this captain is?
Yeah, Baja is a huge spot for whales to go by because it sticks out into the ocean, and they stop by. They're on their way down. They go up north in the summer, and I guess these things are like lice. And
they come down and they give birth in the warm waters in Baja.
Yeah,
but that's wild.
I think these whales must have gone to my kids' preschool because I picked a lot of fucking lice off of them in my day. But they never remembered me.
I saw some ad. It was on my Instagram feed or something. And I think it was an Asian clip. It was just an Asian mom and moms, I guess, with kids. And there's a lice comb and they put out like a white paper plate and she dragged the comb through. It was unbelievable how many bugs fell on this plate.
Really?
Yes.
Ugh.
Which says to me that they're not lice. I mean, maybe they are, but they're the biggest lice I've ever seen. They'd be big on a whale.
My kids got lice so often. It was embarrassing, but it wasn't always their fault. The whole school would get it.
Oh, we had little dirt bags in my school. It was Waldorf, inspired charter school. And I think kids were sleeping just in like blankets on the floor, whatever these dirty hippies did with their kids. And it was repetitive how many times the same kid would give lice to the whole school.
Yeah. That was like this girl, Michelle, gave us chlamydia so many times in high school. And you can't get that out with a comb, I'll tell you that much. Penicillin, baby.
Oh, disgusting.
This next story is called Good Head.
All right.
In an extremely rare and complex operation, surgeons have reattached a 12-year-old boy's head to his neck after a serious accident in which he was hit by a car while riding his bicycle. Suleiman Hassan, a Palestinian from the West Bank, was airlifted to Hadassah Hospital's trauma unit, where it was determined that the ligaments holding the posterior base of his skull were severely damaged, leaving it detached from the top vertebrae of his spine. So the condition is commonly known as internal orthopedic decapitation. And it's a sad story, but I mean, happy ending. And to celebrate this historic operation, the Palestinians are releasing a Suleiman Hassan bobblehead doll.
Are they?
So collect it. Could be worth something someday.
Imagine if there was a mix-up in the trauma ward and they accidentally put an Israeli head on this Palestinian kid.
He'd be throwing rocks at himself.
He'd be smashing his head into rocks, banging it on the wall.
Yeah.
Or would the Israeli brain take over?
Oh.
I know.
I mean, since the Israelis' most recent incursions into the West Bank, I'd say the Palestinians they're really losing their heads. I mean, all right, enough.
I want to give this premise to Mary Shelley. See what she comes up with, the new Mideast Frankenstein.
Well, why don't we give it to the Brothers Grimm, and then she can steal it from them?
How dare you?
Let's go to business.
Business time.
After filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in May, Christmas tree shops will now close all of its stores unless it can find a last-minute buyer. A last-minute buyer for the Christmas tree shop? More like an early shopper? It's
Do
July.
they have one of the what are the things called where you pick off all the advent calendar countdown to when their company's going to be hopefully solvent stuff?
The Massachusetts-based retail chain, which has more than 40 stores, is liquidating its remaining stores because of worsening finances. They reached an agreement to liquidate the stores unless a buyer emerges in the next week or so. I got to say, I'm not a business major. Tough to run a business when you literally only have a fourth quarter.
So the store's called Christmas Tree Shops?
Yeah. You've never seen them?
No.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Well, it says it has more than 70 stores across 20 states. That's not a lot.
They have one in Cape Cod. Like, just as you get to the mouth of Cape Cod, there's a giant... That might be the original one. Christmas tree stores.
It's liquidating its remaining stores. What's in there in July?
Apparently, there's other stuff besides just Christmas stuff. Like, I think they try to sell lawn furniture in the summer and all that stuff. But change the fucking name. Don't call it the Christmas tree store.
And
this sounds like a Hallmark movie waiting to happen. Like Scott Baio with a bad Santa beard comes in and stops Lori Loughlin from a hostile takeover. It writes itself.
Across the streets, the leap year gift shop also struggling, not doing so hot this year.
Yeah, did you hear they're hiring at the leap year shop is hiring when in 3 years?
Maybe what about a new model where it's a pop? No, we don't want a pop-up store. That's for Halloween. They're cowards.
Yeah,
This is going to be us. And also the Haley's Comet store is still hanging in there strong.
Oh yeah. All right, let's move on. I ran out. I ran out of steam.
Kind of like Haley's Comet after the comet comes. It's hard
All
to
right.
keep up that enthusiasm. What are we doing?
Here's this day in history.
You got it.
Why don't you read this because you're such a Dylan fan?
I would have written this differently. This is Greg put this in here. All right. Quote, this here ain't no protest. So, let me start again. Quote, protest? The doth protest too much. This here ain't no protest song or anything like that because I don't write no protest songs. That was how Bob Dylan introduced one of the most eloquent protest songs ever written when he first performed it publicly. It was the spring of his first full year in New York City, and he was on stage at Gertie's Folk Festival in Greenwich Village talking about a song he claims to have written in just 10 minutes, Blowin' in the Wind. A few weeks later, on July 9th, 1962, Dylan walked into a studio and recorded the song that would make him a star. You go on to detail that Peter, Paul, and Mary recorded it first. It talks about the lyrics. It represented a breakthrough for him as a songwriter. And he affected the Beatles, blah, 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 blah. All right. Yeah. So this is the day in history when he performed it live first. That's what I'm gathering.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, he
And,
came in. They have pictures of like the tapes, and a lot of old bands were this way. But they have pictures of the tapes of like what he recorded in one session, and it's insane.
Yeah.
Like he went in and had most of his album, and he left them warts and all with the mistakes on them, or if he started to mispronounce, like a lot of times those were the takes he chose and stuck with.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
like that
wow.
that beginning of the Captain Ahab song
Oh yeah. It's something dream.
where he starts laughing and he keeps
Bob
it in.
Dylan's- yeah.
But really, that song, I mean, he wrote it in 10 minutes. It's got 14 verses in it. How the fuck do you write that in 10 minutes?
He's
Jesus.
AI, man. Bob Dylan is AI.
Yep. That would
Well,
be a good one. Get AI to write a Bob Dylan song.
That was the first thing I asked AI. You know that, right?
What?
I can find it. I said, write a Bob Dylan song about cereal.
Oh, really?
That's what I asked AI. I'm not kidding.
You got it right there?
Yeah, I just have to log in.
By
and
the way,
share
this
my
guy
password.
writes into me, and he's a friend of the show, and I like the guy, but I don't know why he did this. He writes in and he says to me, hey, I have a pitch for a TV show. So I immediately stop reading because I cannot read pitches from somebody that I did not ask for the pitch, because if I do something similar down the road, they can sue me and say I stole their idea. So I always tell people I don't read it, and then I tell them I'm sorry, I can't read it. And then he writes me back, that's okay. It was a pitch I had AI write anyway. Oh, okay. Thanks for just wasting my time.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not in here. I'm looking at my history of chats. I guess I erased. Oh, you know what? I probably didn't have an account. Anyway,
All right,
it spit
good.
out a song very, very like Dylan about cereal with rhymes and everything in it.
Damn.
Yeah. Chorus.
All right, let's do some letters to the editor.
Okay, then.
All right, so we've been talking about doing merch. People are weighing in. Sarah says, I recommend you use a dropship company like Printful. You don't have to do anything once you design your merch and put it on your website, like the photo below. If someone orders that T-shirt, Printful handles everything and just sends me my cut. It doesn't even cost anything. So basically, they print the shirts to order. You don't have to print 100 and then sell them. It just makes them per shirt.
Right. I got that. How does it not cost anything?
I don't know. Ask Sarah.
Maybe it's in the price. All right. Thank you, Sarah.
This is from Brian in Madison. Since you guys are big into golf, how about some custom golf ball markers? They would be flat and light, so it would be easy to ship. Lots of options out there. What's the markup on a golf marker? I mean, how much can we possibly justify charging for a golf marker?
I like the new idea of playing cards with today's logo.
Yeah.
As
What do you mean,
one
like
option.
print an entire deck of cards with today's logo on it, or each card has a separate week's logo?
I know. I think that's harder to do, but like through other companies, I've made Christmas presents where I put a funny family photo, on cards.
Yep. All right, this one.
Costco does it.
This guy, Darren Johnson, says was on a cruise ship and one of the comedians was selling magnets. No one bought them because the comedian wasn't really known or beloved like you. But I think magnets would be a good thing to sell for Sunday papers, cheap to ship too. That's not bad.
What are they?
Like a fridge magnet.
How are you saying that word?
Magnet.
Oh, you're not putting the emphasis on the first part of the word?
Magnet.
You know the show Dragnet? What would that be?
Dragnet.
Dragnet? You're saying magnet? I don't even know how you're saying it. Chris, are you hearing it weird too? Magnets.
Magnet.
You're too concerned with net.
I also say forehead and milk.
Yeah, you do. What's that? You're from the same neighborhood as me, basically.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. All right, Raymond says...
Well, you're magnetic. It is magnetic. That's where you do put the emphasis. All right, go ahead.
Magnet.
Magnet. Dragnet.
Raymond says, you and Gibbons were talking about who is better, Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship, or Starship. Gibbons shit on Starship, saying, quote, built this city was shitty. Then you said, actually, Miracles is a great song by Starship. I thought it was notable that Built This City was written by Bernie Taupin.
No.
Yep.
Get out of here.
Yep. Apparently, according to this guy.
Wait a minute.
Denman, you want to fact check that?
Please fact check that.
I mean,
That's
it
a
is
perfectly
literally
controlled experiment where you don't give it to a lunatic genius. You give it to you give it to humans.
Yeah. And a great band.
And it sounds just as shitty as it does on paper.
I would put that in my top 3 worst songs in history. Do you go in for the
Holy
Africa?
shit, Bernie Taupin co-wrote it.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Huh.
And by the way, if he gave it to Elton John, somehow I'd be singing along to We Built This City.
Wow. Wow.
It's often called the worst song ever written.
It was
and also the execution.
It was supposed to be because so many rock clubs were closing around the country, and it was an homage to that.
Oddly, I now blame the Starship or whichever one it was that did it now. I blame them, except I blame them for their choice.
Okay, so Denman has now written an AI song by Bob Dylan about Greg Fitzsimmons. This is clearly Denman trying to make up for that horrible incident earlier.
I want to hear this Bob Dylan song about Greg Fitzsimmons.
Greg Fitzsimmons, a comedy sage. His punchlines hit with timeless rage. From laughter's depths, he'll never wane. In comedy's realm, he'll forever reign.
Look at that. I'm sure there's a lot more. It's better than Bernie Taupin.
Yeah.
AI is better than Bernie Taupin. I think we knew that before we even knew the concept. I didn't even you could have told me that 10 years ago. I'm like, I don't know what AI is, but you're right.
I would also put White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane in my top 20 songs of all time. It starts slow, and then it builds into a rage.
Of course, and Taupin had nothing to do with it.
It's less than 3 minutes, and it just fucking powers through.
Yeah, her voice at the end, strong.
This is a long one, so let's... no, let's talk about it, because it's about tipping, which we've been on about for the last couple episodes. Brent says, near my work, there's a hotel that has a pretty good omelet bar. Occasionally, I go in and partake, even though I'm not a guest. I justify the thievery by tipping $4 or $5 for a free omelet. Judge me, but the chef, a cute little Oriental woman, detail thrown in for Greg, is always very happy to see me and makes my specific order every time. So the other day I'm walking through the parking lot. I separated 5 ones from the rest of the cash in my pocket, planning on whatever. Inside, whatever. So the long story short is he discovered later on the 5 ones and realized he'd given a wad of 10s to the chef. And so he probably gave her about $150 for the omelet. But you know what? You've been eating free omelets for a while, and guess what? You're gonna keep eating them. You can bring friends now.
How long has he been doing this? She better not get fired. He better make sure she doesn't get fired.
Right. So plus it's pretty good karma. I mean that People don't tip. You make an omelet, you got to crack eggs to make an omelet. You got to shred cheese to make an omelet. You got to dice tomatoes to make an omelet. Meanwhile, cup of coffee, I just turn on the spigot, hand you the cup. Where's my fucking dollar? They look you right in the eye. Where's my dollar? Meanwhile, this chick is sweating her balls off, making you an omelet, and you give her nothing. The cup's right there.
Hold on, let me write this down. Do you have to break the eggs to make an omelet?
What are you saying?
Isn't that a famous adage?
That was my whole point. That was the gist of the run.
I got it. Okay, good.
All right, good.
All right, here we go.
Like, don't judge me. Don't judge me.
Are we doing
tired.
this? You got me so scared that David Gilmour from Pink Floyd died.
Oh, the obituary. All right, you got to crinkle the paper for the obituary.
And that's all, folks.
David Gilmour.
Here's the good news. A different David Gilmour died.
David Gilmour is very controversial, though, these days, isn't he? Isn't he, like, got some crazy opinions about stuff?
I thought that was Roger Waters.
Oh, maybe it's Roger Waters. David Gilmour was a serial entrepreneur who started or was involved in a series of business ventures, most notably the Fiji water brand, which was the #1 imported water for a time. He's Canadian. At 16, his father offered him enough money to start a company or a daily stipend to travel to Europe. Gilmour chose the latter. He would continue to travel, but quickly put his focus on business ventures. They included furniture importer Dansk Design, real estate, and a stereo manufacturer, Clariton. I remember Clariton. They sucked.
They did suck. Were they in Radio Shack?
Yes.
Radio Shack, where idiots and nerds go to buy things.
In 1969, he founded a hotel chain in Fiji, and he purchased a gold mine in Canada. He sold the hotel chain, but purchased Wakaya Island. He purchased his own island in Fiji and had a private resort, and he started an aquifer. So he started pumping water and selling it and became a billionaire.
I wonder the environmental effect of that.
I just think it's insane. I have a whole bit about this, about how, like, we have so much water in this country that we kind of make a joke out of it. We have water parks and water slides, and we have fountains, and then we import water that we don't even need from third world islands that are dried out islands. And it's like, no, that tastes better. I want that water.
Never mind, we flush our poops or children down the toilet with purified, filtered water.
Yes. And it used to be, I mean, it's only in the last 10 years they started, like, limiting the amount of water in the bowl. It used to be filled to the top. It was like a fucking grande.
Oh, I live in this old place, and it is a big swirling. It's like a tub of water. I have an old school toilet. It's. I don't own this place. I'm a renter, but boy, that should be replaced.
Now you go to, like, a Sheridan, and they're so concerned about saving money on the water bill. There's like a teaspoon, and you take these shits that just coat the side of the bowl. It looks like there was a car chase in there.
Okay, come on.
Anyway, once again,
be children in there.
We're off the algorithm. We're off the algorithm. Let's do the funnies.
We didn't really have to cheer up after that obituary, but let's do it anyway.
So Leroy's standing at the living room window. Loretta's reading a book, and he goes, "Why are you staring at me like that?" And then you read the cover of the book, and it says, "Declutter your life." And now we got Hager the Horrible. And he really is horrible, Mike. I mean, what do you call rape besides horrible? So Lucky, his friend Lucky, says bye to his girlfriend, and she's dressed in what looks like a bondage outfit you would see in Soho back in the 70s. And she's kind of hot, and she says bye, and then Hager walks in and he goes, So what were you talking about? He goes, mostly about her. She told me she's a bad cook. She told me she has bad habits and a bad temper. And Hager goes, troubling and scary. And then Lucky goes, she told me she's a good kisser. And then Hager pushes him out the door. Hurry, you can still catch up to her. And then the next frame says, and rape her. I mean, was kissing back, was that a thing in the medieval times? Was a woman expected to kiss back?
I think maybe they would kiss them goodbye to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
As if it was borderline consensual, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Or they had won her over, like, yeah, I decided when you were done that maybe this felt consensual.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. All right, Far Side.
Far
We have
side.
Bob-
Far side.
What's that?
Far side, as they'd say
Far
in
Side,
Boston.
we got Bob's Pets. You see a pet store, and there's a cat in the pet store, and in the foreground, you see a tank, a fish tank, and it says Piranha, $29.95. And then you look closer at the cat, and the cat has two wooden peg legs.
And he's kind of keeping his distance. He's as far from the piranha bowl as he can get.
He's just staring at it. He's learned his lesson. I'm surprised
Yeah.
he has a real tail. But it does remind me, there's another, I don't think we've done it. There's another funny Far Side with a cat, which is there's a cat in bed sleeping with its owner, and there's a dog outside, and the dog has cracked the window, and it's just going, put the cat out.
This is another Ahab story.
What is?
Well, the fish ate the cat's leg.
Oh,
and
yeah,
now he's got a
yeah,
wooden
sure.
leg. Yeah.
Peg legs.
All right, let's get to Blondie, which, again, I don't know why they even call it Blondie anymore, because this asshole who writes the cartoon, whatever his name is, Evan Young or John, whatever, it's only about Dagwood. It would be like, calling Sebastian's show John David, who's his opening act. We didn't come to see fucking John David. We came to see Sebastian. We want to see him
John.
We want to see him take some simple stuff and really funny it up. Anyway, so Dagwood and Blondie are in bed. Of course, Blondie is up, perky, hair is done. She's reading a book. She's got on a violet negligee, one strap off the shoulder. She's begging. She's lonely. She lives in hell. All she wants is some action from this guy who's wearing fucking donut pajamas. And he's laying there, and there's a little buzzing and a sign of like a fly buzzing around the room. So Dagwood goes, that mosquito is really getting on my nerves. He gets up, he gets a newspaper, and he chases it around. Hold still, smack, got him. Now the lights are off again. He's asleep. He's asleep. And then he goes, silence at last. And then there's a buzzing noise, and Blondie pops up out of bed. And, look, is it funny? No. Does he fuck her?
This
No.
is like Family Circus.
What's happening? When did he lose interest in this strip?
Yeah. That's
know?
weird.
I mean, how insulting is it to her that she comes to bed? I know her. She shaved her legs and she painted her toenails before she got into bed. I guarantee it. She did a Summer's Eve disposable douche, a little right guard on the pits. She's ready for action. And
guard.
Donut Guy is chasing a fly around. That's the only thing that gets his attention in this bed. Look around!
Greg, I think you're missing this very savvy writer's intention here and the subliminal message. So at last, silence, and he goes right to sleep. And then she's awake, and above her head it says, bzzz. She is grinding her genitals with a vibrator now.
Oh, that's the buzz.
Yes.
Got it.
And
Yeah,
that's what
can
she
you-
has to do.
She
'Cause
must
she's a
go.
woman and she has her needs.
She has probably kept the Radio Shack in their neighborhood in
Yes.
business with the amount of double D batteries she's bought for that thing over the years.
And that's why the lights are out, because when she fires it up, the whole lights in the neighborhood dim.
Yeah, that's right. Because she's so tight. It sucks the energy out
That's the one
of
that's
it.
plugged into the wall.
She could barely fit that thing in there. She's got to get a small one.
Oh, it's got detailed. Okay.
All right, listen, folks.
I was talking about her ass.
If you want to support the show, get your tickets at Game Time, the best app out there right now. You can download it and use code PAPERS for $20 off your first purchase. Also want to give a shout out to American Gladiators. Check it out on Netflix. Anything you want to plug, Mike?
Yeah, that Werner Herzog, the documentary about him called Burden of Dreams. And then let's see if the Dodger tickets, what do we got here? Dodgers are at $26 tonight. I think that's maybe where they were, but that's cheap. Get there.
Get there.
On Game Time.
Thank you to Chris Denman and the whole crew over at Midcoast Media. Does a fine job for us, Beth and Key and John. And, of course, the lovely Chris Denman, who you're going to get to know very well in about a month. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Take it easy, everybody.
Take it easy.
Hey there, Greg. Hey there, Mike. You know just what we like. Hey there, Greg. Hey there, Mike. You know just what we like. It's a Sunday, 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 Sunday papers. Yes it is, yes it is, yes it is, and you better believe it. So gimme, 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 gimme that Sunday fix. Hey there, Greg. Hey there, Mike. You know just what we like. It's a Sunday, 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 Sunday papers. It's a Sunday, Sunday papers. They put the funny, funny, funny on the weekly stories.
Oh, satellite, here comes a crinkle.
They put the funny on the stories. Hey there, Greg. Hey there, Mike. You know just what we like. So give it to us right now. Sunday, 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 Sunday papers. So get your ass on that Sunday paper train. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.